You're a demon, just like me. All we get to do is live with our pain, our misery. That's all.
And you're locked into another episode of the Anilujah podcast. My name is Josh, and I'm glad to be with you this week, making that intersection between faith and animation and delivering those redemptive analogies you have come to know and love. And back from hiatus, back from her long away sabbatical, my lovely wife, Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. I am so glad to be back on the podcast.
And just so you know, for everyone listening, watching, Rebecca is filling in as a contributor. So again, not a regular co-host role, but a main contributor. So she'll be back on here and there, but not as a regular co-host. But I want to get right into today's topic or topics and today's movie that I'll be talking about. And unless you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, you may not know the significance of the title K-pop Demon Hunters. It has been over at least my For You page on TikTok. I know Rebecca has been all over your feeds, and that's because, well, the algorithm, we've spent the most time on those videos. But K-pop Demon Hunters has taken the entertainment world by storm, at least on those who have the Netflix subscription. And it is amazing how this plot for a movie, when I first heard about it, is a K-pop group that fights demons. It sounds like the most ridiculous idea for a movie, but sometimes ridiculous ideas, when they're well executed, this blew everything out of the water. So Disney, take note. Rebecca, for those who may have not seen K-pop Demon Hunters, can you give us a bit of synopsis?
Yeah, so K-pop Demon Hunters, much like you said, Josh, it is a girl K-pop group that they go around fighting demons, and they keep something they call the Hanmoon secure and safe. And their whole goal is to keep the demons trapped in the underworld where they belong. And they do that through music. And that's how they keep the Hanmoon safe. And their goal is to get this Hanmoon to be golden. And that's going to forever seal the demons below so that they can never come up to the surface and hurt people. And the demons down below have decided to fight against this by, you probably guessed it, making a boy band of their own of demons. And so the demons, boy band demons, go up to the surface, and they try to steal the fans away from the Huntrix, is the name of the girl band. And the others are the Saja Boys, is the demon band. And that is the basic premise. And it seems really silly, like Josh said, but it really hits home hard because it focuses a lot on identity and believing in who you are and fighting against the negative voices in your head. So it goes way deeper than you would initially think.
Yeah, and the Saja Boys, again, a group of demons masquerading as a K-pop boy band. Also, as I've been saying, ridiculous idea, but this is so well done. And we have a lot to unpack. Again, we were not going to get to all of it. Most of this will be focused on the music because, again, K-pop. So I want to get right into that. We'll be looking at a few of the songs, dissecting a few of those. And, of course, as you all know, getting into those spiritual undertones. So, Rebecca, you brought up the Hanmoon.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you go back into that, starting with the Hanmoon? What is the imagery, the symbolism?
So the first, for the Hanmoon, they are trying to get to golden. Golden is their ideal state for the Hanmoon. And gold I was looking it up, has a really interesting connotation, I guess, like the symbolism for a gold hanmoon specifically. So a hanmoon is really like a gate into the spiritual world. That's the idea of what the hanmoon is. And it's a made up word. It's not a real word, according to ChatGPT anyway. It's like a mashing up of two words together. So it's a Korean gate against evil specifically. It's a protective gate, usually erected by shamans, monks, or ancestral guardians. In the case of K-pop demon hunters, that would be the demon hunters. They would be the ones who put it together. So what does the color mean? So gold specifically represents sacred protection. So that's the highest form of shielding or spiritual authority. What's interesting is that it is a very severe form of protection. It is a very firm, holy barrier. That's the idea behind the gold. An era of rigid structure, order, and elite control over the spiritual realm. So that's kind of what the gold is representing from a symbolic perspective. And of course, as the movie plays out, we learned that, yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was a very rigid and structured version of the hanmoon. So when at the end, Rumi, of course, she goes through this whole identity crisis, and when they recreate the hanmoon, they destroy it's being destroyed, I guess, the gold hanmoon, and they move to a rainbow hanmoon. And so the rainbow, from like a Korean perspective, it's a bridge between worlds, between heaven and earth, or earth and the underworld. But it's all about harmony. So it's sort of the complete balance of the universe. So it's a transition from protection to an invitation of reconciliation, which is such a beautiful picture of Jesus from perhaps even from Old Testament to New Testament. We can kind of look at the law, which was a view of things to come. It was saying, you need Christ. This is what the standard is, and literally no one can live up to the standard. That's why you need Jesus. And then it's that invitation Jesus offers to reconciliation with the Father. So the gate then is also meant to not just keep demons out, but really to heal broken worlds, to restore the balance between the worlds, and to allow that safe passage. In Korean culture, they believe that demons are people who have died and who've made bad choices in their life. Like, that's kind of the general philosophy, I guess, or theology in general.
Well, so it sounds like what you're explaining is, again, people who have done wrong or bad people who have died, become demons, and they're trapped in this demon realm. Kind of what we would describe as, you believe in this purgatory sort of sense. And the theology is interesting because from a Christian perspective, we know that when somebody who is unsaved dies, they're sent to hell, and they don't turn to a demon. They are just, say, soul tormented, according to Scripture. Just as I used to believe that when a person who believes in Christ is saved dies, they go to heaven, they become an angel, they sprout wings, they fly around and play the harp and just float on a cloud for all eternity. And it's not true, because we're ultimately going to be given new bodies, because angels and people who have died in the faith, in being saved by Christ, two completely different things.
Completely different creatures. Angels were created at the beginning, like when, I don't know, we don't know when they were created, but God created them specifically apart from humans. They are completely different creatures, if you will.
Well, concerning our demon hunters who are protecting the Han Moon, we have Rooney, we have Mira, and we have Zoe. My personal favorite is Zoe because she reminds me of you.
Yeah, I get that.
She's quirky and fun and all that, but serious when she needs to be. And there is so much talent behind these characters. Their musical influence. Have you ever heard anything like BTS, Twice, Blackpink? Then you would love this type of music. I was reading an article somewhere that this is the only fictional group to have a song on the top 100 since Hannah Montana back in 2009.
It's just wild. That was a long time ago.
Well, you have such bangers like Golden, and Soda Pop, and Free, and if you feel you Take Down and How It's Done. Great songs. The music is so good that we'll get to that a little bit later. Now, each of the band members has kind of a different past, but they've all had the same upbringing by their, I guess you would call her a sensei, or what is her name? The person who is kind of like their guardian.
Her name, Celine.
Celine, that's right.
And was it her aunt? Is that who it was? Who is Celine? Celine was a band member, a fellow band member with Rumi's mom.
Celine was like an aunt or
guardian for sure.
Friend. Yeah.
I mean, she was in the band with her mom because her mom was a demon hunter as well.
Correct. And in the beginning of the film, we learned that there's been demon hunters throughout history. So they go through the different decades, like the 50s, 60s, all the way up to now. And it's their job to the world, you're a K-pop group, but you know that you are demon hunters. You're shining the light and suppressing the darkness, which is kind of, us as believers. We're people, we look, ordinary to others, but we're on a mission. We're soldiers for Christ. But in the opening scene, we have the song It's Done. And this is where we kind of get a sense of the personality of each of the band members, what they're all about, their background, and their whole fan base, which are very devoted fans, as if you have been in a fandom or fan base, you know how hardcore it can go. But somebody has a secret. I know she said this earlier, but spoilers ahead.
Oh, yes. Mega spoilers.
So this is a story really about Rooney and the secret that she's hiding. As Rebecca explained, Rooney's mom was a demon hunter. Her father was a demon. So she's sort of like a crossbreed. Her dad's side of things is catching up to her in unfortunate ways. When we see the demons, they look like, humans, or they're disguised as humans, but they have a pattern, as they call it, like scars or pattern that show that distinguishes them for what they really are.
They kind of look like zebra patterns.
Yes. And it was very interesting correlation I made for that is kind of like our scars or our transgressions that we try to hide and that we try to suppress because we don't want anyone to see the ugly parts of us, the sins that we commit. And so her journey is all about control. So she wants to get out all of the singles for Huntrix. It's about getting out there and it's all golden and winning the K-pop awards so that they can bring the Han Moon to its fullness and that her pattern will fade away, her scars will fade away, and she doesn't have to hide behind those anymore.
Yeah, and it's really her guardian, Celine, who pushes her to keep things quiet and hidden. And what does it say? Oh, yeah. So she says, your faults and fears should never be seen. That's like Celine's catchphrase,
Mantra,
if you will.
yeah.
Yeah. And that is what Rumi grew up with, was her saying, no, you can't show people who you are. You got to conceal, don't feel, don't let it show.
Not the little nod there.
Thank you.
But I love the whole like searching for, well, I'm a demon, but I'm also fighting demons.
Yeah.
And then you bring the Saja Boys in, and Jinyu, who is like the textbook pretty boy of the group, the love interest, if you will. But I like that they didn't make it so much about, oh, this is a romance, and this is going to be our love interest. No, it kept it very realistic in a way. Like, no, he's still a demon, but can demons be redeemed? Just like when we talked about Hazbin Hotel a while back.
Yes, that is the question. I think that this, at least a big question in this movie, is can demons be redeemed? And Jinyu doesn't think that he can. He's a demon, obviously, and nobody thinks that demons can be redeemed. But then throughout their friendship, Rumi and Jinyu discover that they can change. Rumi starts to believe that she doesn't have to be who she was born to be. There is salvation waiting for her. There is someone who will accept her, all of her, and love her.
So when we're talking about like the sins and the transgressions that Rumi is trying to hide, this makes me think of the verse in Romans. Rebecca, will you go ahead and read that for us?
So this verse comes from Romans 8:1. Therefore, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus.
When we're talking about like no condemnation, we're not saying that, all right, I sinned and now I get off scot-free. It's more so that you're not being condemned. You are not being sentenced to death for your transgressions, for the bad things that you've done, the sins that you committed. It's more so that you have accepted the gift of salvation. You have accepted and asked for forgiveness from Christ so that you can do better and not repeat and go back to the same habits as you once did.
Yeah, there's no life sentence that you now need to work towards expunging this terrible thing that you did. What Rumi is doing is she's coming at this from a works-based mindset. And the Bible tells us in Ephesians 2:8-9, it's, for by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not of your own doing. It is a gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. So this is not something, salvation is not something that you strive for, that you have to work for. There is no condemnation for the things that you have done in the past. It's through grace that you've been saved. You don't have to work for it.
And that's so freeing to hear that. And with Rumi, she believes that deep down, when she's going through all this with her demon side becoming more and more visible, that she is a mistake and she's only redeemable by effort. And the lie is that you're too broken, you're not enough. And God wants our broken parts. When we bring our full selves, not just the good parts, but our full selves, our faults, our fears, He wants that, and He wants to make us whole. Just like the funny doctor in the movie, to understand the part, we need to see the whole. And the truth is, in Christ, your past doesn't disqualify you.
Yeah, and it's not just Rumi either. I mean, the other girls are the same. We focus, of course, more on Rumi because it would get a little chaotic if we had all of them be the focus. But, we've got Mira, who she believes...
The black sheep.
Yeah, well, she believes that she doesn't deserve a family. Towards the end where the demons speak to everyone and they're gathering everybody together, that's what she had heard for herself, that she doesn't deserve a family because she's too much, that she's too, she just hurts everyone, basically. And then we've got, oh my gosh, what's her name?
Zoe.
Zoe, thank you. Then we have Zoe, who believes that she's a people pleaser, massive people pleaser. And she, again, is in this works-based mindset that the more she can do, if she can just make people happy, then they'll love her. And so she tries and tries and tries to do more. And she believes that she's too much, that who she is, this excited, bubbly, energetic person, that she's too much for people and that no one will love her because she's, people won't want to deal with that. And so they're all dealing with their own sort of identity crisis, things that they believe that they don't deserve, or things that disqualify them from salvation, if you will, or whatever it is that people tell themselves. This movie is so wildly popular, not just because the music is amazing, and it is, but also because of the message. This is such a universal thing that people deal with. Every single person, fat, skinny, ugly, pretty, whoever you are, rich, poor, everyone deals with something in their lives feeling like they're not enough or too much or not pretty enough, or people won't accept them because this, that, and their other reason.
You're right. It is something that everyone goes through. And I love that this is not marketed as a kids movie. Not that it's like adult oriented or anything, but it has something for everyone. And there are very, heavy themes, tough topics, difficult things to talk about, but they present it in such a way that it's relatable to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And something else that is relatable to everyone is music. So I want to get on to that because music is universal. It's a universal language that we can all, bond over. And I think everyone has bonded over one of these songs or another. So what we want to do is we want to go through the songs, kind of give a little bit of commentary on them, kind of dive deeper into their meanings. Except for Soda Pop. That's just about enjoying a nice cold one.
That's so true.
So let's start with the first song, How It's Done.
So we start off the movie with a song called How It's Done. And man, this one catches your attention right off the bat. The girls are supposed to be at a concert, but instead they're in a plane flying in a different direction. And apparently the flight crew are all demons. And so we get to see them fight the demons for the very first time with a banger music as they're getting out of the plane. It's pretty funny. They're like, yeah, you're demons, right? You're watering a plant with coffee and this is just not normal. And they're like, what? So they end up fighting and they're like, we'll be there in 3 minutes to their manager. And they took care of the demons. It's basically just saying like, come on, we'll show you how it's done. We're going to get ya.
Yeah, How It's Done wasn't like there. Again, it's for sure there. It's an attention getter and it dives directly into, okay, this sets the tone for the entire movie. And then we get to Golden, which is about the different facets and the different paths of all three of the members of the group.
Yeah, so the first verse is really just an introduction of the three girls and their personalities. So we get to see a little bit more of who they are. First up, Rumi starts off the song by talking about how she felt like she was really alone and that she knew she was meant to be more, but she just didn't know how to believe in herself, really. And then it goes to Zoe, who says that she lived 2 lives. She kind of felt like she was split between 2 different lives playing both sides, and she just felt like she couldn't find her own place. And then we switch over to Mira, lastly, who talked about being called a problem child because she got too wild. And now that's how she's getting paid. So she's kind of made it. So it's getting to know them. So that's like a little bit about who they are. But then they move on to talking about how they're done hiding and they're going to be who they were born to be and dreaming wild, dreaming hard, and believing that they're going up, 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 up. But just like believing it's their moment, believing that they're going to be golden. And of course, as the audience, we know that this means more than just themselves, talking about who they are, but really it's about the Hanmoon. And finally being strong enough, having enough fans, building people up with their music for the Hanmoon to be turning golden. And that is the idea behind Buying Golden. And it's such a great song, just like believing in yourself. So they want, there's a line that says, it's our time, no fears, no lies. That's who we're born to be. I've waited so long to break these walls down, to wake up and feel like me. This is Rumi talking now, where she says, she's like, she wants to break down the walls, essentially, is what she's talking about, and putting the patterns all in the past. This is where we learn that she is part demon, and she wants to be rid of the patterns, to be rid of the shame in her life, and finally live like the person everyone thinks that she is. But she knows on the inside that she doesn't measure up.
And this is where we kind of get back into that symbolism we were talking about earlier with the Hanmoon and the gold, because gold is like divinity, purity, and
Structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's the spiritual conflict more so in the song for Rumi, because she has the conflict of, I'm a demon hunter, but I'm also a demon. So it's also about that refining fire, if you will, that makes gold. Like you are taken from this conflict or this impurity, and then you're refined by something divine or holy, if you will, to be made pure. And then we get to everybody's favorite song that everybody has copied the dance to, that we've seen a lot of TikToks of, that I talked about earlier, and that is the Saja Boys' #1 and only hit, Soda Pop.
Yeah, I mean, what else to say? Soda Pop.
Is catchy, and I do the shoulder movements every time I hear it. So
yeah, it's so good. I don't know. So looking at it a little more like critically, I suppose, they're talking about people, or I mean, it's essentially coming from a perspective of a boy who wants to be with a girl, right? That's kind of the take it at face value. It's a good, fun, exciting song. But looking at it from the perspective of them being demons and wanting to get all of the fans from Huntrix, it gets a little more interesting, I guess. It's them saying, the beginning of the song says, got a feeling that you could be everything that I need. You taste so sweet. Every sip makes me want more. Well, we know ultimately that that's their goal, is to take people's souls. So, and it follows up with this particular line, looking like snacks, because you got it like that. Want a big bite, want another bite. So I think it's a little darker than it actually is, perhaps.
yeah, when it's packaged in such a catchy, fun tune, oh yay, it's fun, and it's like, nope, you're listening to soul.
And that is something to be said, Josh. You're absolutely right. How many times does Satan do that to us, or things that are bad for us, or lead us down dark paths? We think, oh, it's just a fun song. I can do this thing because that's what I want to do. But really, it's leading us down a dark path, and it's much more sinister than you realize.
And we've all fallen victim to the nice, shiny things that we know are bad for us, but we're like, it's not that bad.
Evil!
And then we get down to our warrior anthem, or our diss track, if you will, with Takedown. Hey, this is what we're doing this whole movie. We're taking down the demons, and it's really a fighting montage, if you will. Well, fighting montage, and for Rumi, a reflection montage.
Yeah, Rumi is on board with this at first because she's like, yeah, get the demons, kill them. And then she starts to realize, wait a second, I have patterns. Does that mean that I deserve to die too? Just because I have these patterns? Just because my dad was a demon? Does that really make me bad for just being who I am?
It goes back to the whole thing of your past doesn't define you. Just because you have a lineage, if you will, of not so great people, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be the son that takes on the sins of your father.
This song is a very black and white song. And Zoe and Mira have a very black and white view of demons because they don't know Rumi is a demon. And Rumi was taught a very black and white way of thinking about demons.
Right, because we have a flashback to her and Celine, and she asks, are all demons bad? It's like, yes, all demons are bad. Well, she kind of has a soft spot for Rumi because, well, she's only half demon.
Celine makes me so mad, though. She wants to keep her quiet. She wants to keep her like, hey, cover that up. That's not who you're supposed to be. Like, this is shameful.
What happens when you try to cover things up? It builds and builds and builds. And then we get a situation like what happens in the movie where Rumi can't hide it anymore.
Literally. Well, it starts to grow. That's the problem throughout this whole thing, is that her patterns start to grow more. She loses her voice. She starts to really, really struggle with all of this, and it's really consuming her.
Get to the song, another song that I think is the only other song by the Saja Boys, called Your Idol, which is full of Christian undertones. I was reading an article that said that the writer, Imaja, when he was writing it, he wrote it with his Christian upbringing in mind. And like how, we talk about idolatry and not having any idols. And there was a lyric along the lines of, I'm the only one who loves your sin. And I mean, that's blatantly Satan right there. He doesn't care if we sin, but he loves it when we do. It's like, yeah, you're coming over on my side, sin more. I'm the one who says, it's not that bad. You're not hurting anybody else.
Yeah, this song truly is all about Christian imagery, the whole thing. The song starts off and it says, I'll be your idol, keeping you in check, keeping you obsessed, play me on repeat. I am in your head. Anytime it hurts, play another verse. I'll be your sanctuary. So it's like lulling people into this false sense of security.
So the attire that the Saja Boys are wearing is, and I may be saying this wrong, most likely saying it wrong, is in the style of Josam Saja, which is the Korean Grim Reaper. And we have a verse in Proverbs that reads, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, it is the way of death. I mean, literally, all these people attending the concert for the Saja Boys singing Your Idol, literally just giving away their souls.
We were talking about the Saja Boys and their songs and how catchy and poppy all of their songs are, but really underneath there's some bad stuff going on. There's a verse in 2 Corinthians 11:14 that says, Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. And that's what some of these things do. It will lull you into a false sense of security and to, he promises you greatness and to be accepted as you are, but with a cost.
There's a song before this between Jinyu and Rumi called Free. And after listening to it a couple of times, I'm like, is this High School Musical? Because it kind of reminded me of it. But it has themes like freedom from bondage, confession, redemption. And it is one of the best duos. It's kind of like romantic, but it's just so much spiritual depth to it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's like there is kind of a romance thing going on that you can feel the tension, but it's not really intense. But it's basically saying that both of them, when they're with each other, they feel like they're finally free, that they can be who they kind of let go of the past and are able to be a more authentic version of themselves. Rumi's voice comes back, and for Jinu, he doesn't hear those negative voices talking to him all the time. It's a beautiful picture of what it's like when we fully surrender to God.
Right. We're breaking free from the demonic control, the bondage, the sins that have us chained down. It's breaking away from those chains. And it kind of brings to mind Isaiah 61:1, which is to proclaim freedom for the captives. Both Jinu and Rumi are being held captive by their mistakes, by their sins that they've made and what they've had to hide. And in Paul's words in Romans 8:2, it really brings into light that the law of the Spirit who gives life has set you free from the law of sin and death.
Yeah, this one's one of my favorites. I come back to it often. I love the line too in that song where it says, we can't fix it if we never face it. And we can try to ignore our sinful state. We can try to ignore the things that we've done wrong in our lives. But if we never face it, if we never confess, then we'll never find a way to escape it. And it's only through salvation that we can.
Mm-hmm. And just as a quick side note, this is probably one of the only movies, or one of the only movies, that I would just watch, whenever. It's a whenever movie. And we've watched this already twice. There are people that watch this 3, 5, 8, 20 times over. Such a good movie. It wasn't crass. It didn't have overtly sexual themes or anything. It was just a good movie.
I mean, Rumi's in pajamas that are teddy bears and choo-choo trains. Choo, choo.
Choo-choo. As you were saying, we get to our last song, which is called This Is What It Sounds Like. And this is the quintessential of love and truth and music defeat the darkness. I mean, we'd seen this in things like, the Little Mermaid series when Ariel and Flounder and all the fish friends get together to defeat the evil Manta. We saw it in My Little Pony, Equestria Girls. We'd seen this play out many different ways, but this one knocked it out of the park.
So Rumi has really gone downhill. She's been rejected by her friends, rejected by Celine, rejected by everyone, and she's like, fine. Her words to Celine when she met her was like, if this is the Han Moon that I'm protecting, then I don't want it. I don't want this. This is not to keep things hidden, to keep things stuffed down so far that nobody will ever see them, nobody will ever see the shame. Like, you have to be perfect all the time. She's like, I don't want that. And this is the song that, I love how disheveled she looks now, where her beautiful, I think it's just a Dutch braid, but her beautiful braid is all frazzled and she's got hair everywhere and her patterns are showing. everywhere, all over her body. And she is coming truly as the full, authentic version of herself into this show where the demons have gathered everyone. She starts this song off a cappella, just saying, all right, it's nothing but the truth now, nothing but the proof of what I am. And she just explains that she tried to fix it in her own strength, in her own way, but it didn't work. And she essentially broke into a million pieces, and she can't go back. She can't go back to who she was. She has no way to reconcile everything. You start to find beauty in the broken pieces. God works all things for good for those who love him. It's true. It's true. We have all these broken parts of who we are, and they look ugly, but God takes them and works them into something beautiful, something that will bring people together. And that's exactly what happens during this song, because Zoe and Mira are drawn back to Rumi, who is spilling her heart out, and they spill their hearts out, and they come together and they're like, hey, now that we're all being real and authentic, this is the song that we couldn't write before, because there was a block. There was a block between them that they couldn't write about who they really were, because they were very closed off. And this is just such a beautiful song. I love it so much.
I mean, it's all about addressing vulnerability, authenticity, and bringing all the parts of you that make you yourself, and showing that I can still make something beautiful out of the broken pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And this is ultimately what is the determining factor for the group to come together and make the beautiful rainbow harmony, and thus defeating Kuima and delivering all the souls back to their fans.
During the course of this song, all of the fans jump in to the song too, and they start to believe in themselves as well. And the hopelessness is gone. That hopelessness that you feel when you listen to the demons, and the hopelessness that they bring. When you start to listen to those positive voices again, it makes a big difference, and it makes the lights shine.
A voice without the lies. This is what it sounds like.
That's right.
Well, we have talked at length about the music, Rumi's journey through her redemption arc, her discovering her identity, dealing with her vulnerable and broken parts. So this gives you a pretty good base to go off of if you haven't seen the movie yet. We would highly, highly, highly encourage you to see K-Pop Demon Hunters. It is available on Netflix. And if there is a vinyl that comes out with the music, definitely buying it. As always, if you like this episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And ring the bell for notifications so that you are notified every time I upload a new video. Be sure to check out the audio version of the podcast on your favorite podcast app. And I'll see you in the next one.